Whether you've been homeschooling for years or you're just thinking about taking the plunge, let us help you put the edge in your child's education here on The Homeschool Edge with your host, public school teacher turned homeschool hero, Aaron Potzik.
Welcome, everybody, to today's Homeschool Edge podcast. I'm your host, Aaron, and we've got a great show for you. First off today, we're going to look at an article that says Gen Z is 75% more open to homeschooling than other generations. Wow. I'm going to give you the edge with a homeschool company that's compiling all the best news stories and information about homeschooling into one single place that you guys can go and find it out. We're going to take a public school peek and hear from an interesting teacher. And then we are going to have an incredible teacher's lounge where I'm actually sitting down with somebody in Gen Z to get their take on the article. You don't want to miss it. Up next, homeroom headlines. Welcome to Homeroom Headlines, everybody. Here, as you know, I am joined by the one and only Principal B. Principal B, how's it going over there in the hive today?
Oh, keeping busy. Busy as a bee, you might even say. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think you're going to have to come up with a bee pun every time now, so.
It sounds reasonable. So, Aaron, what's the buzz?
Well, besides you being the buzz, this is a great article. I actually found this on a resource I'm featuring today in the Homeschool Edge, this homeschooling podcast. They compile this news site with all of the positive, encouraging, resource-filled articles that are out in the mainstream media. It is fabulous. So,
what a lovely resource. I imagine you'll be posting a link to that.
How'd you know? So this article from the New York Post really caught my attention. Now, this was from late 2023, but it is titled Gen Z Parents 74% more likely to homeschool, and the idea is taking off. Does that headline surprise you?
Yeah, that's a high statistic.
It's very high. So let me read how the article starts here. It says learning begins at home, and that's where many Gen Z parents, even those raising children in go-go New York City, appear to want it to stay. As the flames of controversy over early childhood education and school curriculums blaze nationwide, a recent study showed that 7 out of 10 moms and dads under the age of 26 would prefer to homeschool their growing broods, partly to provide a safer environment. 63% of them answered that, but also to shield them from toxic socialization. At 55% of respondents answering that. What hits you there, Principal B, right off the top of your head?
Well, the toxic socialization, it's funny because what we often hear is that homeschool kids are going to be left behind on their socialization skills. And yet now we're finding out that people are choosing homeschool because they don't want the social skills that kids are going to pick up at school.
Go figure. Yeah, it's quite surprising because my younger kids are also a part of Gen Z. And all three of them, and I must admit, they've only been homeschooled, but all three of them adamantly say they will be homeschooling their children. And a lot of it is because of the toxic socialization they see among their friends.
That's crazy.
Yeah. We have kind of this running joke where my kids will go to whatever event and they'll come home and be like, yeah, those guys were public school. We can tell,
Sure.
But, but it kind of fits in line.
They can credit the fact that they don't want their kids exposed to this toxic social situation. Also, but don't sell yourself short. I'm sure you've done an excellent job of brainwashing them.
Of course. Why else would anyone homeschool than to brainwash their
Right?
children? I mean, obviously. Jeez. All right.
Well,
Yeah.
and I wonder too, and maybe we'll get to that in the article, how many people are choosing to homeschool after the big 2020, 2021 disaster of the COVID response. I know that our youngest has switched to homeschool, and that child is our first homeschool child. But he particularly wanted to homeschool, I think primarily because he liked being at home and being taught by his parents and being surrounded by family. And he picked that up from the COVID response years.
Yeah.
So he was like, hey, why do we have to go back and do it the other way? Let's keep doing it this way.
Yeah, those whole lockdowns, I'm not going to claim that they were socially manufactured for any reason, but if they were, they really backfired in the way of public schooling, clearly, because every article cites this as the big shift.
Wow. Yeah. I can see that.
Yeah, definitely. And so what I'm saying is your child's opinion is not unique, for sure.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. Go figure. You'd rather learn better in an environment of love and care and safety. How about that? Who knows? All right. We got to do a study on that. All right. Let me pick up back again from the article. So they interview a mother of 5, and her name is Rachel. And for privacy concerns, and we can all understand that, she's kind of, eliminating her last name. But
sure. But we can all assume that she's the character from Friends.
Right? Yes. Picture Rachel. That's right.
Yes. Okay. There you go.
All right. She told the Post that homeschooling haters should not fear that parent-taught children won't develop the same socialization skills. Here's that again, as kids who file into a school building every day. Forced socialization isn't socialization, said the mom, 34, from St. Louis, Missouri. Per the nationwide poll, Kansas City, Missouri ranked in the top 20 regions with the highest lean toward homeschooling. She continues, if my child is being bullied, we can make the decision not to be around that person anymore. Unlike when you send your children to public school, she explained. So if you have a big bully and you're in public school, now until whenever the bully decides to stop picking on you, you are forced to be in the same area as said bully. I think she makes a really good point here.
But if you're at homeschool and the bully is your father, Ross, then you can just send him over to Joey's and get him out of the way so that the homeschool can run smoothly.
Yeah, I guess so. But I just love, and you were talking about this at the beginning, how the whole argument for homeschooling, the biggest negative people could throw at it, is now completely reversed.
Now become the positive. Yes.
Right. And I mean, you see these school shootings. Like, I don't know who in their right mind would send a defenseless kid into a defenseless building to have that be. I know the percentage is low that it could happen. I mean, not even nearly as high as the potential of sexual abuse, like we talked about last week. But that alone, I think, is a big convincing factor. You've got a no gun zone, and then you've got just these teachers and kids and all kinds of breakdown in communication. I mean, that alone should seal the deal,
Sure. Yeah. Why swim in the water where there are sharks, even if statistically you're not going to be the one who's eaten, but they are out there? Why would you choose to swim in that body of water as opposed to a shark-free?
I suppose you just poked a little hole in my logic there, because I do like to swim in the ocean, and we're pretty close to.
Well, I'm not talking about just any ocean. I'm talking about like the Jaws Ocean up in Amity, where there's that big shark there.
Yeah, it's not just like Yeah, well, that's a good distinction there, Principal B. Well, to go along with this, like I was talking about up front, our next segment, Get Educated, is all about this great homeschooling resource. I'm excited to show you guys. Principal B, it's a pleasure as always.
Thank you very much. Always happy to buzz on by.
All right, we'll see you next time, and we'll see you in Get Educated. All right, let's open up the locker here and get you educated. The resource I have for you all today is phenomenal. I came across this website kind of on accident, searching around for different things with homeschooling, and I found this page called homeschoolnewstoday.com. It's fabulous. What they do is they compile from all over the internet all the articles about homeschooling, especially ones that are more positive or have some resources, or even ones like we talked about in Homeroom Headlines that are very encouraging to take away as homeschoolers. This is also a part of Wired Homeschool, who also runs a blog and has posts and editorial videos. I cannot wait to show you guys all of this great stuff. I guess the genius behind this all here is John Wilkerson. And he makes this funny joke about how he's consistently inconsistent on posting content. Some weeks it's a dump, so other weeks it's nothing. I can definitely relate there, John. So you can even buy the guy a cup of coffee. All right, that would be so nice to support the work he's doing with the Homeschool News Today site. As you scroll over to the Wire, or the Wired Homeschool, their homeschool page, they have these great blogs. They tell you their mission, and also something interesting to note, they have these YouTube teaching guides, which I think is super cool. And it goes to list all of these resources that you can go to on YouTube, and it's got these guides for it. Dichromatic liquids, I can barely say that word. It must be good to learn about. How fireworks work. Oh man, that sounds very interesting. Why do we have seasons? See, all of this cool stuff you guys could learn to teach, and also, most importantly, educate your children with. It's coming from a good homeschooling company. They're Christ-centered, and they've knocked it out of the park with this one. So kudos to you guys. Stick around, everybody. We're going to go take a peek into the public schools.
Boys, here we go. Screwball in the side pocket.
All right, here we are. It's time for the public school peek. We got an exclusive interview with a public school teacher that is going undercover, you could say. So let's hear from her.
So I'm not allowed to be out as trans non-binary at school. Do not come up in my comments saying that I am allowed, because I'm not. I live in Louisiana and it sucks here. So of course my response to this is to be as obnoxiously queer as possible. So I've got my rainbow hair with leopard print. I've got my rainbow glasses. Sometimes I wear pins too with various rainbow things on them. I don't have any today. I just have my COVID sticker. I wear things that do not match at all. Basically, my goal is to look like a unicorn threw me up. If I can't do that, what's the point?
Wow. Well, at least it sounds to me like her focus as a teacher is in the right place, you know, all about the kids and all. All right, welcome everybody to the Teacher's Lounge. Oh, you are in for a treat. We have a special guest again. Yes, that's right. This special guest is a guest. We know each other pretty well, don't we?
I would say that, yep.
Yeah, you would say so, huh? Yes, I am.
You can say that in that way, yeah.
Yes, I am. We are joined here by Miss Izzy. And Izzy is my 18-year-old daughter. So welcome, Izzy, to the Homeschool Edge.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
You are so welcome. Now, it's really good to get a student's point of view, a child's point of view on homeschooling. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I was excited to have you on. Now, give us a little bit of a rundown about your homeschooling experience generally, what things have been good, what things have maybe could be improved, and then like talk about how well you feel prepared to enter the workplace. I know that's a lot, but just give me whatever you can. All right, go for it.
Okay. Yeah. So pretty much I would say I have been homeschooled my whole life and I have loved it ever since. Obviously as a child, I kind of was like, oh, I don't know. I feel like I would like public school, but as I grew older, I kind of realized like, okay, it's kind of not really all it's hyped up to be. And I have been able to learn at my own pace. I've been able to get even a little bit ahead of the curve at times. And I've had a lot of time to hang out with my friends, to do my hobbies. And overall, I just think it allows much more freedom than a public school environment for sure. And I've had a great experience. I've had plenty of friends. I've had so many more experiences in homeschool. So I've loved pretty much every second of it.
That's awesome. Is there anything or a couple of things that are your most favorite parts about homeschooling, or you feel like have the biggest benefits in homeschooling?
I feel like there's a lot of benefits, but to name a few, I would say you get a lot of creative freedom. So you can spend a lot of time on the things that you want and your hobbies. And that really, that's not really a thing that public school focuses on at all. They're very rigid in that kind of way. And that's kind of how a child grows and develops, is through being creative and doing the things that they are interested in. And so I've done I love drawing and pretty much any kind of art. So I've done a lot of that and been able to improve and just get to know like myself and my hobby better through that. Also, I do a lot of homeschoolers, well, not really a lot of homeschoolers, but a lot of people assume about homeschooling that they don't get a whole lot of, well, the kids don't get a whole lot of socialization.
Oh my gosh.
But I
There
actually had the
S word.
opposite. I've had the opposite experience with that. I've actually had much more time with friends, and I would say with better friends that I can actually choose, whereas in public school, you don't really get to choose who you're around, and you also don't really get time to talk to them or hang out with them. But I've had a lot of unique experiences and been able to. It's fine. I've had a lot of unique experiences, and I've been able to meet a lot of different people and kind of been able to choose like who I hang out with, and even at the same time getting a lot of different getting to know a lot of different people.
Yeah, and so you've been old enough to have a job for several years. When you go to get a job, what do you notice differences as far as like availability, as far as experience, as far as work ethic goes, and talk about what homeschooling has advantages in that, and then maybe do you see advantages from you and maybe a public school kid? Go ahead and just tell us your feedback on the working experience.
So yeah, I do see many advantages actually. So number one being I have pretty much a very flexible availability. I can pretty much be available anytime that I need to. And then whenever I'm not working, that's when I can fit in my school and my actual work. So I'm very, that's always been a plus that I've been at almost every place that I have interviewed at over the years. I have gotten hired mainly because of that availability, and because I've had multiple people say, hey, like, you're really good with like your social skills. Like, we want you on the team because of that. And obviously been a very hard worker because of the way I was raised. And I think just being homeschooled completely contributed to all of that. And I have never had really a problem with like a problem with getting a job or something like that.
Clearly. And what is very surprising is how many of your employers compliment your social skills in working with people.
Right.
As a homeschooler. So, I mean, hopefully the point's getting out there that the constant retort against homeschooling is that socialization. But we've had other guests on too that have also said socialization is a benefit, actually. So, Izzy, I want to ask you about something. So we in the homeschool headline segment, we talked about an article in the New York Post, and it was called Gen Z Parents 74% more likely to homeschool. And the idea is even taken off in New York City, which it kind of...
Oh my gosh.
I know, right? It kind of refers to New York City at one point as Gotham. But anyway, it says the parents 26 and under, and you are in Gen Z, correct?
Correct. Yes.
And you're a future mom, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Most likely.
So what does this article surprise you that 74% of your generation they're more likely to look into homeschooling?
Well, I gotta say, I could have gone either way on that one, but now that I'm really thinking about it, it doesn't surprise me all too much. Just considering how much the public school system has gone downhill over the past probably 20-ish years, I would say. But I mean, it's just gotten terrible, and obviously the people from my generation, they have had to experience that firsthand. They're the only people who could really understand how bad it actually is. And obviously they're going to want the best for their children. Right. And that is not the best for their children pretty much anywhere in public schools right now. It's not at a good place. And I think they realize that most out of anyone else. So it doesn't really surprise me all too much.
Yeah. Now, a very high percentage of them put one of the big reasons for their desire, more openness, I should say, to homeschooling is their child's safety.
Yeah, for sure.
So, you think of the school shootings, you think of the rampant bullying and taunting. We see videos all the time on the school bus and in class. And I think a lot of Gen Z parents are on the same track that they don't want their kids to have any part in that.
Yeah, for sure. That's definitely one of the biggest reasons. Like, people just, I just can't believe where the world has come to at this point. There's so many different dangers, like countless dangers. And obviously, if you're a homeschooler, you are so much more protected and in your parents' care. And I think, definitely Gen Z can see that. And that is going to be one of the good things coming out of this generation, like, despite what everyone says.
Yeah. And I think overall, I think a lot of people have been pretty hard on the millennials, but also when they look at Gen Z, a lot of people, from my perspective, see a lot more hope that they're actually coming back more to some of those Christian conservative values.
Yeah, I think definitely, because more recently we have seen like just absolute evil come to the surface. And it's like, you can't even hide it anymore. And they're like, oh, wait, this is actually really bad. And we need to start doing something about it. It's like the very end of the line where it's either it's going to go to full chaos or you're going to do something about it. Yep. And so I think that's pretty much why with Gen Z, that's where it's come to.
Yeah. And the article makes note that the Gen Z parents feel like, and this is a huge reversal in a win, and we've already talked about this, but they feel like putting their kids in public school is not only forced socialization, but it's toxic socialization too.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's not natural at all. It's not natural to be put in a class of the people the exact same age as you. So there's no like diversity there. You don't learn how to talk to adults. You don't know how to talk to kids younger than you. It's all people of the same age who don't want to be there and who are spending hours at a time sitting at a desk and not even talking to each other.
Yeah, right.
It's stupid.
It kind of is silly when you put it that way, isn't it?
Yeah. It really is. Like, just think about it for a couple of minutes and then you start to realize.
Right. A couple of last things here, Izzy. You have been able to be a part of groups and gatherings that have public school kids in it, and as well as of homeschool kids, of course. We've never kept you guys out of anything with kids your age, that you wanted to do. And Now, of course, this is going to be a generalization. Okay, so
Mhm.
using your best generalization, what, how are the big thing in the big ways? How are the friends you're around different? Can you tell when they're public schooled and or homeschooled, and maybe why?
I 100% can tell. So I mean, it's not that I would say that the public schoolers, they're all kind of in a mob mentality with each other and trying to impress each other. Whereas homeschoolers, they're much more well-rounded. They have their own like interests, they have their own personal like sense of self.
Yep.
And I mean, personally, I've had interactions with many different public schoolers, many different homeschoolers, and my closer friends have been homeschooled just because I feel like I fit in with them better. And not that I don't, not to say anything bad about public schoolers, but you can definitely tell that there is a major difference within pretty much every aspect of them. They're much more, like I said, well-rounded. They're I mean, sometimes they tend to be, I don't want to make any assumptions, but they're very smart, unlike some people say.
Right.
Yeah, they're not talking about stuff that doesn't matter. Like a lot of public schoolers, they also, I mean, it's public school has gotten very like dirty. They use bad language and talk about stuff that like should not be talked about. Whereas like homeschoolers, they actually talk about worthwhile stuff. And again, that's not to say every single one,
Right.
but I've just
Right.
generally my experience with that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's been interesting to have kids when you have your kids come home and those group of boys, public school, like you could tell,
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Definitely.
Well, Izzy, I would love to have you back sometime in the future if you'd be open to that. And
I
before
would
you,
love that.
oh, awesome, because we're going to deal with issues for youth your age, and I'm a little bit irrelevant when it comes to the youth opinion at this point. But make sure before you go, you get some of that great Teachers Lounge coffee.
Oh yeah, that's what I've been looking forward to all day.
Don't get your hopes
You could
up.
even say that's the only reason why I'm here. Just kidding.
All right. Thank you, Izzy. And anyway, thank you guys so much for joining us on this episode of Homeschool Edge. If you want to get in contact with us, have ideas for us on the show, or just general comments, you know what to do. Reply on any of our social media sites. I'll have that along with the articles and the Wired Homeschool Company linked in the show notes. Thank you once again.